Hello, book besties. This is the Nightingale Chronicles, Protecting Jacqueline. This is book 1 of the series. I'm going to do a little reading from the very end of the prologue. And I want to be very clear. So the characters involved here are Ian. So the prologue is from Ian's perspective. He's Jacqueline's father. And Colin is Ian's best friend's son. And Ian has basically almost like adopted him into the family. So they're childhood friends. This is the end of summer, or the beginning of summer. And it's the last summer that they're all together. So that is where I'm going to begin at the very end of the prologue. I'm not berating you, Jacques. I'm merely suggesting a better alternative. Colin's voice raised in frustration. Ian smiled. Colin was actually showing emotion, something he hadn't done in the last 13 years. Sounds like Jacques has unlocked something, Ian thought to himself. You always think your way is the better way. I don't need you to tell me what to do. Why don't you go back to ignoring me? Jacqueline asserted, her hands shooing him away, her face turning bright red. Colin stared at her in frustration. She turned away and set her rod down, rolled her trousers up to her knees, and waded into the water. I've never ignored you. Impossible, he muttered, shaking his head. You're going to scare all the fish away. Ian thought he heard Colin growl in annoyance. Now you two just enjoy the first day of summer without this unnecessary arguing. Ian reached them at this river, his rod in hand. I do not argue, Uncle, Colin said. He raised his chin in defiance as he walked to the riverbank. Ian moved to a rock formation next to the river, several feet from the children, and sat down. Maybe if he gave them some space, Jacqueline could calm down and perhaps provoke some humor in the boy. He watched his daughter climb onto the massive tree trunk that had fallen onto the river in the last windstorm. Since the spring, Jacqueline had been playing on it. Jacques, are you trying to kill yourself? Colin yelled, his hands on his head pulling his hair. Yes, because that would be very logical, Jacqueline retorted, rolling her eyes. Since when are you logical? It isn't safe up there. You could fall and hurt yourself. His voice softened as she reached the top of the trunk. Ian saw Colin close his eyes and take a deep, shaky breath. Colin, it's perfectly sound. If you need proof, come and sit with me. You'll see it's safe. Jacqueline patted the bark next to her, a challenging smile on her face. Ian didn't think Colin would do as his daughter suggested, but to his surprise, Colin rolled up his breeches, grabbed his fishing rod, and waded over to the low branch and climbed to sit next to Jacqueline. Her big blue eyes opened wide as he sat beside her. Her cheeks reddened when he lightly nudged her under her chin. They sat together, their bare feet dangling over the edge. Colin's long legs almost reached the water. Ian threw his line in, watching the pair sit quietly next to each other. Ian smiled as his daughter rested her head on the boy's arm, a smile on her face, a blush on her cheek. Every so often, Colin tilted his head and looked at Jacqueline with what seemed to be a small smile. Ian's heart swelled. What a beautiful moment, seeing them sitting there together. Well, that is the end of the prologue. And if you enjoyed it, please get your copy, or you can get it. I think it's also on Kindle Unlimited. Why am I saying thanks? It's also on Kindle Unlimited. So I hope you enjoyed it.